everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dr. Nick, and welcome back to the 90s Guy channel. So today is going to be kind of an interesting topic. And I guess the best way I can kind of segue into this would be, where did it all go wrong? Where did it all change? Now, I am 37, going to be 38 in March. So I have been a wrestling fan since I was about 4-ish. Started out with Saturday night's main event. Started watching the pay-per-views that my brother would rent from the video store and would catch, practically any wrestling I could on TV. And then it went into when they would show a lot of the different superstars and Tuesday Night Titans, all the way into when it went into Monday Night Raw, and it blew up. The 80s and the early 90s, wrestling was just everywhere. Merchandise, movies, you had No Holds Barred. Roddy Piper was a huge star, and They Live. What was the other one? Lords of Frogtown, I believe. And wrestling, to me, I think, has always been kind of the catalyst of, how I've kind of dealt with life in general. I always knew that there was something not quite right with the way that my brain worked. Little did I know that I had anxiety, depression. Later on, I would develop PTSD for various reasons. And as I grew older and things changed in the world, the internet got bigger. The way that we received information was different. The internet was, everywhere. Before, cable television was, what they broadcasted into your house, either a cord in the wall or a satellite dish on the roof. And we had, a handful of TV channels. It wasn't anything major. Cartoons were always on Saturday morning. Movies, we had to go to the store and rent. We didn't have things like Netflix and Hulu. We would go to the movies, but, a lot of it was renting movies from the local video store or Blockbuster or Hollywood Video. But the internet, we got the internet in 1995. We had an NEC computer, and we didn't really do a whole lot with it. Like, we would play games, and occasionally I would look up wrestling stuff, but it wasn't anything like it is now, with basically having the internet, in your pocket. Things transferred from, cassette tapes to CDs to iPods, and now you can listen to any song at any time, pretty much, just on your iPhone or any smart device. TV has morphed into dozens of streaming services. You can get any movie at any time, pretty much. I still collect physical media, movies, music, things like that. And wrestling has evolved as well. We have the Peacock Network with the WWE shows and WCW and everything else. And then before that was the network. Then they had a channel called WWE 24/7. I didn't have that in my area. But before, you would pay your fee every month to watch pay-per-view, which was $50-$60. I mean, it was expensive. I would always rent the VHS tapes. Royal Rumbles were always my favorite. Survivor Series. Some of my early wrestling figures were the AWA Rimcos. And those I got because I went to an auction with my grandparents. And I saw this big trunk full of, vintage looking toys. And I asked my grandpa, I was like, hey, you mind if I bet on this? And he's like, sure. And I was probably 7 or 8 at the time. And it had a bunch of different toys in it. And it had these wrestlers. I had no idea who they were. One of them looked like Hulk Hogan. I had no idea who the other one was. And they turned out to be AWA Remcos. Who'd have thunk? I still have them in my collection. And then it went to getting LJNs at garage sales, into the Hasbros, like up here, Jakks, Mattel. I mean, you see here, Mattel and the D-Toffs. I got Jakks on the wall, Bendy's in the ring, Mattel. I mean, this is just one half of the room. But wrestling has always been there for me. Whether I had a bad day or a good day or an exciting day, I was able to relate to a lot of the characters. It was always a huge escape for me. A handful of my friends were wrestling fans until high school, and then they thought it was, uncool because, God forbid a girl knew that you liked professional wrestling. I won't say the names of the people, but there were some people who also bullied me that were supposed to be my friends about liking wrestling and toys and things, but, it is what it is. Being 37, almost 38, the world's changed a lot, especially in the last 3 years with COVID and the way things transpired through that. The world will never be the same, no matter how much we want it to be. As much as I like having modern conveniences and technology, I do miss having, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, getting a new cassette tape or a CD on a Tuesday when a new band or artist would come out. Watching movies at the theater is still really great to me. I still really enjoy it. I still collect tons of physical media. It just was simpler times, you had, things didn't seem as busy, if that makes sense. And I don't know whether it's the naivety of when I was a kid, that like I didn't realize there were so many big stressors in the world. I mean, I was stressed even as a kid for a lot of reasons. I don't know why, but having anxiety as a child was very difficult. It made it difficult to make friends, function. I mean, I worried about things that no kid should ever worry about. And it wasn't anyone's fault. It was just my brain has always been wired that way. I would love to have a time machine, to be able to go back into time and talk to my younger self and tell him that things are going to be different. Things are going to be better in some areas and not so better in others. I don't know if I would tell him about certain things that have happened, mostly because it might make him worse. I by no means have a horrible life. I have a good life. But when you have mental illness and chronic pain conditions like I do, your brain likes to convince you that it is. You feel you're a burden to others. You feel as if nothing around you makes sense. The only thing that makes sense to me is wrestling and collecting. The stuff here. Those are the only two things that's ever really made sense to me. People who I've known in life, family, friends, former significant others, none of those things ever made sense. It's almost like when they were handing out handbooks on how to be a human, how to be a person, I was given an empty book. There was no writing on any of the pages. And it's been confusing ever since. Um, I hope this video helps some people. You're not crazy. You're not alone. And I would like to say that things get better. Sometimes they don't. But you don't give up. You keep going. And you do the best you can with what you got. You know, that's about the best advice I can give you. There's a lot of things that still don't make sense to me. It probably never will. I guess that's why I surround myself with my collection and my movies and things from when I was growing up, because those things make sense. They still make sense. They make life better. That's why I like hanging out with my dogs. They make life better. They are fantastic. I've always been more of an animal lover. It's not that I dislike humans. I've just never really been a people person. I've always been a huge introvert. So I think when I started to notice that things were not quite what they seem, and just not quite what they should be, when I was probably 5 or 6. I was sad a lot, couldn't figure out why. I was anxious a lot, couldn't figure out why. And to this day, a lot of times I still don't know why. But I guess to me, you know, popping in a movie that I hadn't watched for a while from when I was growing up, or even, you know, in the mid-2000s or whatever, if I can get a little bit of happiness, feeling a little bit okay for hour and a half, whatever, watching a video on YouTube for 20 minutes, even, you know, sitting here in my collection room, puts things into perspective, makes things make sense for a little bit. I don't think it hurts anyone. I don't know. I don't know if anything will ever really be the same, to be honest. Things have been really weird the last 3 years since COVID happened. Restaurants closed down, people died, the way that we do things in general. The best way I could describe it is like I walk out into the world, like I walk out my front door, and things just seem still really off. And I can't quite shake that feeling. I can't explain that feeling, but things are really off. I don't like it. I know you have to do things in order to get through life. You need to push on and just keep going. But sometimes it's not easy. And it gets difficult. I've had some really difficult days. There are a lot of reasons as to, you know, I won't say the word because you're not supposed to on here on YouTube. There's a lot of reasons why in the past I've wanted to not be here. I'll put it to you that way. But there's a lot of reasons why I need to be here. Mostly because of my dogs. They would not understand where I went. But I hope things get better for you. I hope things get better for me. I hope that I haven't made you depressed by watching this. But I want to thank you and everyone else for subscribing to the channel. Hit that like button. It really helps out the channel. I officially hit over 1,000 subscribers, which I'm super pumped with. And hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon, and you will be notified of all future videos. I will see you all later.